everyone. Thanks for joining today. I have a special guest. He is Mike, also known as Autographed Rookie Cards on Instagram. Mike and I have been talking the past few weeks, and we actually did a recording already that unfortunately didn't quite work out technically. So we're doing this a second time and see how it goes this time around. But Mike, thank you once again for coming on and talking history in the hobby with me. It's been real honored to get to know you.
Yeah, this is round two.
Yep.
So keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, really excited about it. Kurt, I think you do a fantastic job. I think I've listened to, every episode that you've done, and I feel honored with some of the guests that you've brought on. So that was greatly appreciate it, and looking forward to telling my story and talking cards and just talking it up a little bit.
I appreciate it. So yeah, speaking of your history in the hobby, so how did you get started in the hobby, and what were some of the things that you started collecting many years ago?
Well, it's funny. I know you and I talked about this in part one on this. I'm a little bit older than you are, so I started collecting the first packs I remember opening were 1969. So that fits about the timeline for people. It's usually that you're 7, 8, 9 years old when you start breaking those first packs. So it was 1969 baseball, and it's kind of a backwards story. My grandmother was actually the one, and I'm not even sure how I got into it. I'm sure we were at a five and dime or whatever and bought a couple packs, and then all of a sudden it became kind of this thing. Every time she would come out, they would bring, at that time I think they were probably a nickel a pack, right? And they would bring 5 or 7 packs every time they would come out, and we had obviously a great relationship with them, and that's kind of how it got started. And for those that collect cards, know this. Cards have a tendency, they're almost like Lego pieces, right? They're everywhere. And probably, I don't know, 70 or 71. In 71, my mom basically gave me the ultimatum of either, hey, get these cards picked up because they're everywhere in the house, or they got to go. So my dad said, hey, I think she's serious this time. You gotta get this organized. So that's kind of when we really started. We started building sets out of wax packs, and I think we probably went to our first card show, I don't know, 72, 73, somewhere in there. It was an old Charlie Brooks show here in Detroit, and obviously card shows a lot different then than they are now. And that's really how it got rolling. One of the things I remember is we would always build our family vacations around some type of sporting event, usually in the summertime. So one year we went to the Wisconsin Dells. Actually, it was in the spring, Easter time, around April or whatever. We went to the Wisconsin Dells, and I said, well, hey, if we're going out there, we got to go to Larry Fritch's warehouse. So I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and we'd ordered from Mr. Fritch for a number of years. And we went to Stevens Point and just parked and walked in, and sure enough, Larry Fritch was there, and he let us hold. He had a T206 Wagner that he said, hey, let me go back to the safe and get that out. So my dad and I, we got to hold the Wagner. And he said, hey, where are you all from? And we said, hey, we're from the Detroit area. And he says, oh, that's interesting. I'm getting ready to send a couple semi-trailers up there to buy as many cases of 1975 minis as I can get on these semi-trailers. And he's like, hey, they're, Michigan and Ohio, Michigan and California were basically the two spots. He's like, I would highly encourage you to go pick a case of those up. And, I think they're going to be really, really cool. So we get home and I'm like, all right, Dad, Mr. Fritz said we need to go get a case of these things. So we were buying from a candy wholesaler at the time, buying boxes, and we went and picked up a case of 75 minis wax, and we broke them. We broke them all down, and I think we ended up with, I don't remember, 8 or 10 sets. I still have them. And the funny thing is I actually saved all of the boxes in the actual case that they came in. So I still have that. So that was kind of the first big purchase that we made. I think a box of cards at that time cost, with the discount from the candy wholesaler, I think they were retail $3.60 a box, and I think we probably got them for, I don't know, $2.75. So I think we had a whopping $50 in that case. But we didn't have a ton of money as kids. Typical, I think, is for most people. So that was kind of the thing that really kicked it into the high gear. So those are really great early memories for me.
Those are fantastic memories, definitely. So now, what's it like for you? You've kind of gone on and started showcasing your collection on social media. You have a lot of really cool vintage rookie autograph stuff that you started to show from your collection. So can you talk about some of the things you've accumulated over the years and how you went about accumulating your collection over time?
Yeah, I think I was never the kid who had the greatest cards. It's so different. One of the things, as a side note, Kurt, that I've gone back and started buying up is our old trade publications, and I have them as far back as the early 50s. I was fortunate to buy some of Lionel Carter's early trade publications in an auction, but it's interesting when you go back and look at those. They were really, they were commons, semi-stars, and stars, and that's how those things were priced, right? So, my dad was a huge Kaline guy, and he would buy all the Kaline stuff. Not, unfortunately, he didn't buy a ton of early Topps Kalines, but nonetheless, we would pick those up, and he passed away in 2018. He was kind of my running buddy in this for a long time, but I always teased him about why were we not buying Mantles and Mays cards instead of the Kaline cards. So yeah, those are those are things that he did. I never, I listen to a lot of the podcasts, and and people, they come and go out of the hobby. I never really left. So I was a completist. So we had to complete all the sets, and we bought, we not only baseball, but we did hockey and basketball, football. Didn't really do many of the non-sports back in the day. But we have complete runs back through. I'm missing a few cards in a few of the sets, but on a whole, complete back through 54 on the top side, and pretty much complete except 49 and 50 Bowman. I'm missing a few, but that's kind of what you did. And one of the interesting things when you go back, and that I remember as a kid, were when you went to a card show, there were not only cards, but there were publications, right? You go back and look at some of those old publications, and there were a lot of yearbook collectors, the dope baseball, all those guides, media guides. That was a really big deal. Even the shows in the early 80s, we lose context with how many cards are out today. But in 1980, you only had really from 48 to 80, and then you had obviously some of the Gaudis and the tobaccos. But there were, half the dealers were selling sporting news and media guides and and that type of stuff. And we collected all that. We collected all that stuff. You had better odds of finding that type of stuff at the flea markets than you did actually the actual cards. So, I know it's a completely different deal today, but I mean, if you really wanted to know how a player was doing, you either read the box scores in the newspaper or got the sporting news every week and went through and figured out who was, who was doing what. So that's a big change. There doesn't seem to be a lot of collectors of the paper type stuff like that anymore. But we bought it all up as kids. I still have the majority of it, but I never really left the hobby, Kurt. I wasn't always immersed in it. In high school, luckily, I bought a lot of stuff, kept it unopened. So I have a pretty good stash of unopened stuff in the late 70s or early 80s. I actually set up. I set up at some shows back around 92, 93, 94. But I'll be honest, I kind of got frustrated with all of the new cards. I just couldn't keep up with it. I was working, trying to, raise my kids and do all that and trying to keep track of all the new stuff that was coming out. It just got to be overwhelming. And so I really stopped completing sets probably, after 86 or 87. I really didn't really do much with that. But I kind of moved into autographs, game-used memorabilia, jerseys and bats specifically, single-sign baseballs. So that's kind of what I did in that during that period. Still really haven't bought much of what I would consider the newer stuff. I completely understand why people do it. It's just I just didn't really have any interest in it. I kind of kicked myself, when you think of all the 90s basketball that a lot of people talk about and all the great inserts, and those were all at the shows. They were all there. I just didn't have any interest in doing that type of stuff. So I was more chasing autographs and game use stuff. So and then you get older, you things settle down a little bit, you have a little more discretionary income, and you start branching out into some other stuff. And it's probably in the last, 5 or 8 years that I really got heavy into the signed vintage cards. And that's kind of where my passion, I guess, lies. I got a number of collecting passions, but that's one of them. So
yeah. So what are some of the signed vintage stuff that you've really been going after in particular? And have you been going after trying to complete signed sets, or have you been going after just particular players or Hall of Famers? What are some of the things you've been kind of focusing on with that?
Well, I'm working on a couple. I'm seriously working on a couple sets. I'm playing around on a couple others. But the ones that I'm serious about are 53 Parkhurst hockey. That's a 100 card set. I have 70 of the 100 of those signed. I don't really find many new additions to that. I mean, I might pick up a card or two a year. I go to the Toronto show, looking for that type of stuff, and it's just not there. It's just not out there. I don't know I'm assuming there's cards that are signed there if they're in private collections or whatever. But I was listening to, you were on with one of the podcasts you were doing on the basketball, where you're talking about nobody was taking basketball cards to the arena and getting them signed in the 70s. It was the person who was trying to complete the 72 basketballs that are completed. Was that?
Mm-hmm.
And
Kyle.
Yes, Kyle. Yes, and it's the same kind of thing with with that stuff. You had if you wanted to do it, you were doing it through the mail. Then you had the Canadian postage thing, right? And you have these people that they live in, they play a year or two, get a card made, and you never hear from them again. So that makes it challenging. So that's one. Another one is the 64 Topps baseball stand-ups. That's a 77 card set. I'm at 67 of that 77 done there. Probably will never complete either one of those. The 64 stand-ups, the Clemente is going to be, that's going to be a really tough card. Farrell is another one that he's a notoriously tough signer. There's 3 or 4 that are going to, be really tough. And I don't really stress out about not completing them. I just like the chase. Those are the 2 that I'm really focused on. I'm playing around with a 1950 Bowman baseball set. I have probably, 2/3 of that set done. I have a 59 Topps signed set that I'm probably half done. 56 Topps baseball, I'm probably 35 or 40% done with the 56 Topps.
That's impressive, because that's how big is that set again? That's a huge set, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a 300, I think 320. I think.
Yeah.
It's dumb luck. I actually had. I thought I was bidding on a 55 Topps Koufax, and it ended up being a 50. I threw this big bid in on it, and I won it. And I was so excited. And then I realized it was a 56 Topps Koufax, and I was like, all right, well, got that going for me. So, things like that happen. But it was all right. I needed it anyway, so it was all good. But
nice consolation prize, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. But I obviously, being from Detroit, I mean, heavy influence on Tigers, Red Wings, Lions. Not maybe so much on that, but Pistons. So I'm really heavy. You got in this area, the 68 Tigers, 84 Tigers are kind of the gold standard, right? I mean, the super popular. The Red Wings being an original 6 franchise, those are always really, really popular. Gordie Howe, Yzerman, so many great players have come through. The Tigers, I told you my dad was the Kaline guy, and we have every regular Topps and Bowman Kaline card signed, and then some other really miscellaneous type Kaline. So I have a great Kaline collection. I posted, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I figured I'd throw it up. I bought Al Kaline's personal card collection. It was at Heritage.
I was definitely going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough. I picked that up. They broke the 54 Topps card out. I kicked myself. I should have probably bought that one, but that one for some significant dollars. So I have a massive Al Kaline collection. A lot of it signed. A lot of it,
yeah.
Pretty rare stuff. So,
yeah, the Kaline cards he actually personally owned himself from that auction that I saw, were
yes,
GC, and they actually put on the label the Al Kaline personal collection or something like that. So
yeah,
that's really cool. People go gaga over things like that, like whenever they see the Uncle Jimmy collection on the PSA level, whatever. So to have that personal connection with Al Kaline himself, getting cards from his collection, that's definitely really, really awesome.
Yeah, when I saw it, I have to buy that.
Yeah.
But the other thing in that, it was a Heritage auction. I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess they did that. They had some other interesting stuff in there out of his personal collection. One of which I was fortunate enough to purchase. This has special significance. I'll share with you in a minute. There were 6 1971 official American League balls signed by the American League All-Stars that year. One of the things about that is that's the first baseball game I ever went to, was a 71 All-Star game. Oh. And, when you think about it, I believe this is still factual, that there were more Hall of Famers that played in that game than any All-Star game in history. And I still have the 3 tickets. I got they're in PSA slabs, all numerical, the seats from my mom and dad and I. And that's another passion project that I have, is collecting everything 71 All-Star game. So that's, there's a lot of, I do a lot with that. That's one of those personal things that, ties it together with my folks. And that was cool. And that 71 ball, those 71 balls are, they had the Thurman Munson was on there, Andy Messersmith, and those are 2 really, really super tough signatures. The Provenances, obviously, they're still in the what is it? The Spalding or Rawlings box. It has Kaline's name on it. It was pretty cool. So I was glad I was able to pick that up. But the 71 All-Star game is a big thing for me. And when I see signed stuff like that, I will have a tendency to pick it up.
That's really cool. Absolutely. Well, I know you have a few things that you were willing to share, and maybe tell us a little bit of backstory about some of the things that you have, because I've seen these and they are definitely very cool, very interesting. So I would like to kind of hear a little bit about some of these signed cards you have and how you went about obtaining them.
Sure. I got something I've never, that most people, I've not really showed this to many. So I said, I didn't have it with me when we did the first run of this thing. And I said, but what the heck, I'm gonna break it out anyway. And that is from 1990. I have 95 and 96 Magic Johnson Round Ball Classic program. And I took my mom and dad and my wife. We went to the banquet downtown Detroit in 19. We went in 95. This is 96. And it's kind of awkward, as a 34-year-old guy going around talking to high school guys. But they were all sat at a dais, and I went around and I took the program, and I had everybody that was there signed it, including that guy.
Mr. Kobe, huh?
Kobe Bryant.
Just, yeah.
And, yep. I thought about, what do I do? When he passed away, it was kind of like, I thought about, what do I do with this thing? Do I sell it? Is in here too. I mean, Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups played in that game too. Obviously big Detroit people. Jermaine O'Neal, he was on the roster. He didn't play in that game. Tim Thomas, Mateen Cleaves. There's a lot of Jamal Magloire. There's a lot of guys that went on to play in the league in that. But that's one of those things where, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But I found it to be kind of cool. I was fortunate at the banquet when I was there. We got there early. I probably had a 15-minute conversation with Kobe when he was a high school senior. There wasn't anybody talking to him. He couldn't have been a nicer kid. That was kind of cool. One of those things that I'll remember that for a long time. The prior year is another. I did the same thing. This one is interesting because not only just to go through, there was Vince Carter and Kevin Garnett in this one.
Nice.
So I don't know if you can see that with that glare, but I did the same. I did the same thing. I went through that. So you had two Hall. I think Paul Pierce was in this game as well. Stephon Marbury was in that. Doug Gottlieb. Now I think of college basketball announcer fame. But so I've got those two programs. That's just kind of the kind of stuff I did. The Garnett was the hardest. He wouldn't sign for anybody. And I remember chasing him down the hallway of the hotel to the elevator and be like, dude, you got to sign this program, man. I'm like, you're the only one that I don't have in it. And he eventually signed it for me, but I know he didn't sign many. So yeah, so those were things that, I embarrass my wife a lot on stuff like that, but it is what it is. So, but those are cool. I don't really take those out and show people those often. I don't really know how to display them. I'm trying to figure out how to go do that.
You gotta be careful with those, obviously, because you're talking about really fragile paper, and I don't know, like it's almost like trying to display antique books, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to be so careful with those, and I would be afraid to display them too. I would just keep them, locked up and probably not take them out too often. Yeah, right. So, it's like, those are amazing pieces, but what do? You don't send them off to PSA because it's not like they can slab every single individual. Yeah, that'd be awkward. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you could probably have them issue a letter, do the letter. They would authenticate the signatures on there and issue a letter with that. I guess I could do that, but you still can't display it. So I don't know. I know they're real. I got them. We went through and got them, and I got the dinner. I still have the, tickets. I've been saving tickets my whole life. I still have the tickets for the dinner, for that. So, but yeah, Derek, if you want to take a quick look at this is another. I should have probably said this too when we were talking about sets that I'm working on is the 54 Red Hearts. God, I want to say that's a 33 or 36 card set if I remember right. I think I'm at 18 done on that. I think I got a legitimate shot at completing that set, Kurt. I think that might be one that I can knock off my bucket list on that. But so I saw that mantle and said I gotta pick that up. Now I have another one just to make you feel good and feel like that I am paying attention for you. I just got to dig it out here. George Kell's also in that set, and I'm 99% sure I pulled that Kell card. And my guess is I'm probably not going to be able to put my hands on it. But there's a George Kell card in that set that I pulled out to specifically show you, and I probably put it back in the box. So I know Swift in Arkansas, George Kell is royalty here in Detroit. So that's all good.
That's all good because I live in Arkansas now, but I am also from Oklahoma, and you've pulled out lots of great Oklahoma names as well, with Mickey Mantle, of course, and even Doug Gottlieb. That's a nice one for sure.
Yeah, I started buying them. I started buying May's stuff up a few years ago, and I have a lot of signed cards from the sets in the 50s. I'll be honest. You probably think I'm a goofball. I don't know exactly where I'm at in terms of percentage completion on a lot of these sets. But, when I see that type of stuff, I will generally pick it up. I started buying the Mays stuff up, I don't know, pre-pandemic, 2017, 18. And, I have a number of his cards. Here's a 61.
Nice.
it's weird because a lot of his signatures aren't that great. I don't know what or why that is, but this one is. I felt pretty confident that was that had a chance. And obviously it was a 10, so I was happy. I was happy about.
So did you get that one raw?
No. That okay. I bought it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really leery on buying, especially maize and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. It's got to be. I was listening. I don't remember there were some people. I don't mind buying Beckett stuff. I mean, to me, I'm very confident on their stuff. Everybody makes mistakes. I know it doesn't work for the registry and that type of stuff, but the Beckett slabs don't bother me. But yeah, here's another one. Let's see. So I don't have a 52 or a 53, but I have quite a few Mays signed cards. I can't say it's a passion project for me, but when I see them and if the price is right, I will I'll try to pick them up. Here's your George Kell.
Yeah.
I really like those. I really like those Red Hearts. It's a smaller set. There's one obviously super big name in their Mantle, and the rest of the guys are pretty reasonably, accessible. So, I'll have to say, I do. My collecting friends think I'm kind of crazy, but I do weird sets. So, this is a 1953 Glendale. And that was in a hot dog package. And there's, God, I can't remember how many cards in that set, but it's a very difficult set to find. And I was fortunate enough to pick up probably 5 or 7 signed. That's one of the 3 short prints in that set. So that Harvey Keene is a really difficult card, and to find it signed. Obviously with the local Tiger connection on that was really cool. Again, that's a set that completing it is hard enough, let alone. So I know I will never complete a signed, a Glendale Meats set, but I do have 4 or 5 of those cards, signed. Now I know your big passion project is the 61 Fleer, right?
Yeah.
50, basketball, right? What's your count? What's your count on those? Where you at?
So I'm currently at 26 out of 66. So a little over a third way there. I was able to get 20 or so of them real fast within like a 3-4 month time frame, and then things have had to kind of slow down for me these past few months. But I think whenever you're completing a signed vintage set like that, I think patience is always the way to go for the most part. I jumped on some really, really rare ones when I had the means to do so. And I was glad I was able to do that. But yeah, now I'm just kind of playing the waiting game and just, I still don't have like a Jerry West, and I'm just fine with that. I'm just going to play the waiting game and just wait for the perfect looking Jerry West, to have to come to me essentially. But I did pick up a Bill Russell. I had the opportunity to get his signed base version. So I went ahead and did that and picked up a few other of the really rare ones. So I'm happy with where I am on that one for sure.
Well, patience is definitely a virtue on those things, right? So, yeah, that's it's interesting. On that set, what is there? 44 different players.
Yeah.
And then 22 of them are the are the action or the inaction piece. But it's interesting because 24 of those 44 are Hall of Famers.
Right.
And I'd be curious on another regular issued set where more than half the players in it are Hall of Famers, right?
Right.
I think I read 12 of those 24 were at one time voted in the top 50 NBA players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a super iconic set. It really bridged. You think about if that 61 set wasn't issued, what the basketball card market would be between 57 and 69, right? A generation of great players would not even be. You'd think about getting a rookie card of Jerry West in 1969, right? I mean, it'd be like that's kind of weird, or a Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Right.
That just seems really, really, really odd. Or Bill Russell from 57, and his next card is 1969. So I think, I think that's a really great project. I wish you the best on it. I might have 12 or 15 of them done. I can't say I actually chase them. But I know a lot of people do, and I think it's a great looking set. I really do. So wish you the best on that thing. So, any other basketball sets that you're doing? Do you try to do the 69s?
No, I haven't. I don't really. Well, so I do have one tiny little kind of side PC. I kind of started on real recently, and it's a set that not a lot of people collect, but I really like it, and I think it's 87 Fleer signed. Because a lot of people go for the 86 Fleer, and I get it, I understand, but 87 really is underappreciated. It's actually still really low pop in terms of signed cards from that set, but you still have a lot of great Hall of Famers from that set. Obviously, you have Jordan and Bird and Magic and Kareem and Barkley and Malone and all those guys from that era, all in that set. So it's a great set, and it doesn't cost you near as much as like trying to complete the 86 Fleer sets. So in terms of sets, that's the only one I'm kind of doing as a side PC right now. Otherwise, I'm just kind of getting other really cool signed vintage stuff that I just really like. Like I've come across a few 72 Topps signed stuff that I picked up, like Dr. J and Dave DeBuscher and some of those that I just thought were really, really interesting and really cool. So those I'll buy, but I'm not really actively going after really any other sets at the moment.
Yeah. I think you posted that DeBuscher a 72 Topps card, and I saw that. I think I actually commented on it on your Instagram account. And well, let me say this. I talk like I'm a big Instagram person. I just started that. I figured I got to get out and do do some of this stuff. So I'm a dinosaur on that. And I think if you ever, I know you did an interview with Rob Girard. I listened to his podcast as well, and I'm still trying to figure out how this stuff works. I think I've called him inadvertently. I didn't even know you could do that on Instagram, where all of a sudden, like, it starts ringing, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, what? How do I get off this thing? So tell him, if you ever talk to him, tell him I'm not the lunatic that I may appear to be. I just don't know what I'm doing. So it's, I just try to get the pictures posted and tag a few people that I think might actually look at that. But yeah, the Busher's a local guy, and I think he went to Austin High School, which is in our parish, which borders Detroit in Grosse Pointe. There's a little plaque on there. So, but yeah, those are cool. Hey, I got another question for you. If you in the basketball circle, I know you talk to those people. I'm convinced that in 1972 on that set, that some of those cards were issued either on a Kellogg's cereal box or a Wheaties box, because I have some that look like I hand cut them off of something. And I've talked to a lot of basketball collectors, and I've only gotten one that verified they said, yeah, I think you're right on that set. So put that in your back pocket as you circle in your circle. Ask around and see if anybody else other than this crazy guy from Michigan that remembers those 72 Topps basketball cards on a cereal box of some sort, whether it's Wheaties or whatever. Because I know the Harlem Globetrotters, in 70 or 71 were in Cocoa Puffs, if I remember right, for sure. But I'm 99% sure that 72 set, or at least some of the cards, were issued via a cereal box. So I've never seen one.
I'd definitely have to ask around because I honestly not sure. Yeah.
So I cut them off of something.
Yeah, I mean, or I don't know if they just had them from an uncut sheet and just try to cut.
Yeah, I
whatever,
remember. Listen, I was all of 10 years old at the time, so I could be making this up in my head. I don't believe that I am, but it's just one of those super scarce issues. So, but I just put up the Derek, if you want to show the two Jerry West cards. You and I had a debate on Jerry West the last time we were talking, and one of your guests, you guys were talking about, like, Jerry West signed a lot of cards, and I think I told you I disagree with that. I think that he signed a handful of cards in the last number of years, but I think, when these guys pass away, I think a lot of that stuff gets gobbled up and put in personal collections. I do.
Yeah. I think a lot of the guys that I talk to, when we talk about somebody signing a lot of things, we're talking still a minuscule number compared to what gets signed in modern times and in modern sets. Like Jerry West has probably signed around 150 to 200 of those Fleer cards, of those 61 Fleers, I would say. But that's still small, meat and potato numbers compared to what everyone else is signing nowadays. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot in comparison to what other people have signed from that era, because you're talking about, there are some people who only sign like maybe 10 or 20 of cards from certain sets at the most. So it's more than that, but at the same time, it's still much less than, somebody just going out and trying to find a Luka Doncic autograph. It's like, yeah, you'll find tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of those throughout time, but you still won't find that many Jerry West out in public auctions on a regular basis. Yeah.
I got a question for you. It seems like the rookie card signing was, if I go back in the Wayback Machine, nobody did that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I went to a lot of card shows growing up, and even as an adult, nobody was getting those cards signed. And it seems now, when you think like if you take Bobby Orr as an example, Bobby Orr signing in Chicago this weekend coming up, and his low grade, he's got the test issue and the regular Topps issue in 66. But those low grade cards get gobbled up because guys and people, I should say people, not just guys, are breaking them out and getting them signed. Now I think he's charging $900 to sign his rookie card. My question to you, I was talking to a dealer, a high end dealer, at a small card show here on Sunday. And I said, I asked him if he's going to Chicago. He said, yeah, I'm going to Chicago. And he had three Orr rookies in his case. I said, what's the best price you have on him? And the lowest one he had was a PSA 2.5. He wanted $4,500 for it. I said, I can't. By the time you pay $4,500 for the card, $900 for the signature, and maybe $100 for an inscription, it's tough to get your money back out of that.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm going to go get he's talking about getting it signed on top of the PSA slab. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody do that, but whatever. I said, why don't you get his second year, his 67 Topps card signed? A, there's not a premium for the signature, and B, it's a lot less expensive card. He's like, yeah, I never thought about that. My question to you, Kurt, is you were talking about your 87 Fleer instead of the 86 Fleer, right? What do you think about getting second year cards signed as opposed to maybe the rookies, now that everybody's got a surcharge on those rookie cards?
No, I think it's a great idea because, almost any of the vintage rookie sign stuff now has really gone up in price like crazy, whether it's you're buying them already signed, authenticated, or you're getting the card to be signed by the athlete. I was having this discussion with another Mike, the Mike from Texas who does the
Moynihan?
I
listen to you guys on that. Yeah.
And it's like, is it worth it to buy a modern rookie card and spend the premium? Because like almost every athlete has a premium now. All those athletes on the 86 Fleer Premier have a premium to sign the 86 Fleer Premier cards as opposed to any other card. And so, you'll be spending quite a bit of money even just to get it raw and then signed and then authenticated and slabbed by PSA or whomever. So, it really begs the question, if you don't really have the means and funds to do that type of collection, and I know a lot of people do, and that's the thing too, is that there are a lot of collectors really specifically going for just the rookie cards. I've talked to a lot of people who are going after all Hall of Fame rookie signed or all NBA top 50 or top 75 rookie signed. And so there's a lot of people going for those. And so there's competition for those anytime they do come up on auction. Getting a second year, I think is a great idea. And I think a lot of those second year cards kind of go over notice. But I mean, still, wouldn't you love to have an 87 Fleer Michael Jordan card signed?
For sure.
Well, it's a great looking card, first of all. Second of all, it's still a really young Michael Jordan, and there aren't very many of those signed by Michael Jordan. He hasn't signed those in his career, and he still won't sign very much on a year-to-year basis. And I'm sure that the signed Jordan 86 Fleer, you probably can't get one under six figures nowadays. But you can get an 87 Fleer signed for $7 to $10,000 all day long. And that's a high end example of what we're talking about, but that's what you kind of find across the board. Get a second year Sandy Koufax as opposed to his rookie card sign. You'll save yourself a lot of money, and you still get a Sandy Koufax vintage card sign. It's still fantastic. So,
I'm moving more towards. I'm not a dealer, so I don't sell any of this stuff. Although I probably should. I don't know why I need 21 signed Ricky Henderson rookies. I really don't. So I've got to, that part of me is, I can't figure that piece of it out. But, if you take a Kareem, right? The difference in his, arguably his 1970 Topps card is as nicer looking sign than a 69. And there's not a premium on it. Right. So I don't know, if I'm trying to, I don't look for, the quick buck on this stuff. I'm more playing the long game on it. But if I was going to do it from a pure value standpoint, if you're looking at percentages of return, I think you could make a case for those second year cards just as well as you can the first year card. I know there's no reason why Pete Rose's 1964 card should sell for what it sells. It's not a rare card. It's not. The only reason is it's his first card where he's on there by himself, and it's got the little think it doesn't have the little like tops, like all
the award
rookie cup or whatever on there. There's no reason why that card should be $400 or $500. It's that much as people are buying them up and getting them. I think they're getting them signed, and you'll see that unfortunately if something, well, none of us make it out of here alive, but when those players pass away, I think it seems like a lot of times the rookie cards hold their value, but it's those second and third year ones will have a tendency to come down. Even the lower grade rookie cards have a tendency to fall, because I think that's one of the things that's driving the market on those lower end Hall of Famers is people buying up to get them signed. I have a friend of mine who's a hockey dealer. That's all he does, and he knows pretty much when people are signing, because people will come and start asking him. I have a guy that I know that does strictly football. Same thing. Anybody that's doing a signing, low grade rookie cards just can't keep them in stock. So, I think it's just an interesting dynamic with that. But just my thought.
Okay, so to kind of wrap things up, was there anything else you wanted to make sure to mention from your collection, or anything else that you want to make sure to mention that you're on the hunt for? I know you've talked about some of the other sets you're still collecting, but anything else you want to make sure to mention during this interview?
I'm a big Jello collector. 62, specifically 62 Jellos. I know. I think we probably touched on that. I think I don't know how many complete sets that are out there. I know mine will be number 2 on the registry when it's in a couple of weeks. That's a big passion project. It's like I said, I just started posting stuff on Instagram. It's autographed rookie cards, and I'll throw stuff up. They won't all be signed rookies. There'll be a lot of other stuff that, when the spirit moves me, I'll throw those things up there. But no, that's I really appreciate the time. Enjoyed it. I'm glad we're able to do it. Hope it worked what you were hoping to get out of it.
Well, I hope so, man. There's been so many technical issues on this one as well. Hopefully we got something, but no. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview today. It's been great talking to you these past 2 times. And, I'm glad that we had this time to talk, and I'll be looking forward to seeing your collection as we go forward, and keep talking signed cards with you.
Good. Yep. Let's stay in touch. I appreciate it. Have a great day.